My guest today is Chris Tanner, owner and operator of 3 successful Arkansas restaurants: Samantha's Tap Room and Wood Grill, Cheers Restaurant in the Heights and Fayetteville, and the Oyster Bar, a Little Rock icon, first founded in 1975 in a 1925 old grocery store building. I think that's cool. When so many restaurants are failing during the pandemic of 2020, this dynamic husband and wife, Samantha and Chris, were opening restaurants. Yes, grand openings. So how did Chris and his wife, Samantha, manage and successfully navigate the drastic changes happening in their industry? Today we will find out. But don't think this married couple's life has been all a bed of roses, or that they have been immune to the unexpected pitfalls of life. In 2016, they had a crisis in their life that no mother and father should ever have to endure. Their beautiful daughter, Anna Charlie, awoke one morning with a headache and within a few short days had passed from her loving family's life. If willing, we will ask the Tanners to keep Charlie's memory alive and to tell their family story in the hopes that others who might be suffering from a tragic loss can find comfort in hearing how the Tanners got through it, managed their business, and navigated their pain and family relations. It is my great pleasure to welcome to the table and the microphone the restaurateur extraordinaire, Mr. Chris Tanner.
All right. Thank you.
You're so welcome. So how flattered is your wife that you named a restaurant after her?
I think she's flattered.
I mean, how did that come about?
I did ask her permission.
You did or did not?
I did.
What did she say? That's stupid or?
Okay.
So how did you decide to name it after her?
You know.
Was it your idea?
Yeah. I love the name. And I thought it had a personal touch, and there's a connection. Mm-hmm. So
and she does wait tables.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say
we wait tables, we bus tables, we fry cooks, we do it all.
Yeah, I think you have to when you're in the restaurant business, don't you?
That's right.
So, how long have y'all been married?
25 years.
When did y'all first meet?
Oh my goodness.
In the restaurant business?
Yeah, I was waiting tables at the Ruby Tuesdays in Park Plaza Mall a long time ago. And
what was she doing?
She was in the mall working at Zale's jewelry store. And that's when we first met.
And you kept going over there and buying jewelry?
I was over there buying jewelry. And
for who? For another girl?
No.
You were just over there looking?
I was over there looking.
So how long did y'all date?
We dated for, just went out a little bit in the beginning, and she was dating somebody. We started dating somebody shortly after, and he was in the military. I was, again, a waiter, living day to day, having a lot of fun. So she went the more stable route. Their marriage didn't work out, and she calls me out of the blue several years later, and I'm like, and she started talking. I was thinking it was another Samantha, another one that lived down the street from me. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And she goes, I don't think you realize what Samantha this is. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so we talked on the phone for several hours. She was in Conway, had moved back, and was going through the divorce. So we talked for several hours on the phone, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, I'm coming to Conway right now. It's probably midnight. She's like, well, okay. So I drive to Conway. I hadn't seen her in years, and been together ever since.
That's the ultimate booty call right there. Midnight phone call. I'm driving to Conway. Are you both from Arkansas?
And the rest is history.
Yeah. Right. Are you from Little Rock?
I'm Little Rock. She was Jonesboro.
Did you go to college somewhere?
I went to Henderson State.
Did you always know you liked the restaurant business?
I've always liked to cook, trial and error. Just when I was a kid, I'd try to make breakfast in bed for my mother, and thought I'd looked up a recipe and it was on bran muffins, and I'm like, so I'm sitting there trying to cook it in the morning and found a bottle of oil up in the cabinet. Well, it was oil that we used to fry fish with that we saved, and I put it in there. Well, needless to say, they didn't taste that good, but I tried it, and it was the thought that counted. But I've just always.
What did your parents do?
My father-in-law
Mm-hmm.
is not my father-in-law, but my stepfather is in real estate, and my mom, she was a secretary for construction company for
Back
a little
when
while.
we were secretaries forever. I went to college to be a secretary. That was actually a degree you could get back then. So they must have a good work ethic, because restaurant business is tough.
Yep, it is. It's something new every day.
Every single solitary day.
Every day.
So how did you go from waiting tables at Ruby Tuesday to owning your own business?
Okay. Well, I'd always cooked at my house and have folks over. Just always like to put something together.
What were you cooking? Let me guess, chili.
Little chili. I'd maybe do a little shrimp boil or something like that. Just having folks over, and one of our friends said, you ought to, start a business. I'm like, well, golly, yeah. So I kind of started a little catering business. Back then I was cooking out of my house. And I then I was doing a little Cajun Creole. And I would do some shrimp, lobster, crawfish boils where we cooked on site. And that's kind of where it started.
Corn.
Oh, yeah.
Potatoes.
Corn, potatoes. And it's kind of slowly grew. Samantha's brother got us into Toad Suck Festival one year, and we did that for a couple of years, and that was fun, and learned a lot, learned what not to do, that's for sure.
Did you have a little truck there, food truck that you were?
Yeah, I had an old Ideal bread truck that I'd bought, and I'd run everything over there and set up outside.
Well, that's hard work.
Oh.
So were you married to Samantha by now?
Yeah, we married a few years later, after we dated a little bit.
Mm-hmm. That catering business is a tough business. But you got into your own restaurant and ownership and took that leap. And I think the first one was Cheers Restaurant. So before we get into that, I want to hear how you ended up with Cheers Restaurant. And before we do that, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Arkansas restaurateur with Arkansas restaurateur Chris Tanner, owner operator of Cheers, Samantha's, and Oyster Bar in Little Rock, Arkansas. We'll ask him how they successfully navigated the changes in their industry during the pandemic of 2020 and even held a grand opening of their newly renovated Oyster Bar. Amazing. And I want to know, is it better to open from scratch or buy an existing restaurant? This couple has done both. We'll be back after the break. Okay, your first job before the break, we talked about how you and Samantha got together and met, and the best booty call I've ever heard. And then your first job at Ruby Tuesday. I mean, who would think working in the mall at Ruby Tuesdays was going to lead to being, you're a well-known restaurateur in Little Rock, Arkansas. I mean, really well. And anybody that's ever worked in the restaurant business knows it is tough. It is hard work and long hours. So you're doing Toad Suck Ferry festivals. For people that don't know, Toad Suck Ferry is a festival in Arkansas and a big one. You're doing, you've got food trucks up there. You're learning about the restaurant business. How did you end up buying your first restaurant?
Okay.
And what was it? Cheers?
It was Cheers. So, yeah, we were catering, doing some festivals. I was also, my last place I was waiting tables was the Faded Rose. Then I took a job with Moon Distributors, and so I was wholesaling wine and liquor, and I had Little Rock and Northwest Arkansas as my territory. So I called on all the restaurants. So I learned a lot, just talking with all the chefs and owners, and did that for 7 years, commuting back and forth as I continued to cater a little on the weekends and do what we did. But I also called on Cheers. So
Opportunities.
I was just going, man, I was talking to a guy that was a manager. He wasn't the owner. I was like, God, I think if you just did this or this, I mean, you could really boost this, but he didn't have any skin in the game. He didn't, they didn't really care. And anyway, it never happened. And we happened to be out on a supper club deal with a couple that owned it. And Samantha brought it up, hey, if you're ever interested in selling cheers, let us know. Well, they did. And that's kind of how that came about. And so we continued to do that, continued to cater, bought the restaurant, started fixing it up. To this day, I'm still doing things to that building, just trying to improve things, make things better. But we did that, and I continued to work also at Moon Distributors for the next couple of years. And then as we grew that business, and it was failing, there's no question. So
Cheers was?
Oh, yeah. And so we're bringing it back to life, had it going. At this point, you get pretty tired because I'm catering on the weekends. I'm usually working Thursday, Friday nights, after I'm working Monday through Friday.
It's your real job.
At the real job. And anyway, it got where finally I was like, I need to, concentrate on this. And we've got it built up. I feel safe now, and that's kind of how that came about.
People don't realize that often entrepreneurs have to work two jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Very few jobs are like, I have enough money in the bank that I can not work for 2 years, or the business makes so much money the very first year you're just rolling in the money. Did you buy it from Randy Brees?
Yep.
So do you know that I worked there?
I did not know that.
Did you know that I met my husband? I was the waitress and he was the busboy at Cheers Restaurant, and that's how we met 30-something years ago. It's just a social atmosphere, and then when you get off work, everybody's a little excited, and you're tired, and you've worked together as a team, and you really get to know the people that you're with and who you can depend on.
Yep.
So describe the menu and the food.
At Cheers?
Uh-huh.
I just call it a little, it's just a little Americana, great salads.
It's got really good vegetarian food.
Got some good vegetarian, great, again, probably the number one selling salad in the state is that chopped salmon salad. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the number one seller at Cheers, Samantha's, and Cheers in Fayetteville.
Cheers in Fayetteville. When did you open that?
Did that. It's a franchise. Mike Arnold and his son Curtis own it and run it. And,
did they approach you?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I've known Mike. It's crazy. I catered his rehearsal dinner in Hope, Arkansas. 20-something years ago.
And so he was already a restaurant owner?
Yep. He has Razorback Pizzas and
in Fayetteville.
Mm-hmm. And the couple in Little Rock, one in Fayetteville and Maumelle.
Did he start a franchise?
He bought. I think he's opened up a couple of them here, but he bought the main one up in Fayetteville, then opened some.
So he kind of knew about how to do a franchise.
Yep.
So how did you design and set up a franchise model?
And this is more of a business agreement, not just a true hardcore franchise. And so ours is pretty simple.
It's just kind of a partnership.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time, and
it's just more of a partnership, and he gives you dividends, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So next restaurant. So how long did you have Cheers when you decided to open Samantha's Tap Room and Wood Grill?
Well, I actually opened Cheers in Maumelle.
Oh.
So I bought that property. We built that from the ground up.
You've got one in Maumelle right now?
Well, they're still there. And so set that up. I had partners there. 10 years later, I sell it. And I sold the property, everything, and still some of the same employees are still there. And that's been, golly, 7 years ago, 7 or 8.
Too hard to run it?
No, it just...
Didn't you have kids sometime in there?
Yeah.
I mean, you've gotten married, you end up with 2 kids, and you've got 2 restaurants open. You're like, Samantha's like, you're going to have to give up something, or...
She wasn't digging my idea. We had a couple partners, and so they ran it, and just things changed, and a couple of them they moved on, and anyway, I said, man, I kind of feel like I've done what I can do here, and being that owned the property, the building. I wanted to sell that, just sell the whole thing, and I really wanted to do something else. I didn't know it was Samantha's at the time, but I wanted to do something else. I'd love for it to be a little closer.
You have partners at Samantha's?
Yes.
So how did the idea to start a restaurant in downtown that was underdeveloped and trying to make a comeback, you were kind of one of the first to go in there and and renovate and be confident about. And
I had an idea, and several of us were on vacation in Mexico, and I was like, hey, guys, I want to do a restaurant. I said, I got an idea, and everybody's like, yeah, what do you think? And that's kind of where it all started. And we didn't know the location at the time. And the concept was over the last 20 years, at that point, 17, 16 years of catering, or really I've been catering longer than I've had the restaurants. So 20 years of catering. I said, I know what they'll eat. I know the dishes. I've catered. I know these are my number ones. So it's just not a matter if they're going to like it. It's if we can execute.
Right.
And so I had the menu. I put a menu together, and that's kind of where that started. The name, and of course, when we travel, which I travel a lot, I'm always going to restaurants and looking and just seeing who's doing what, checking it out, and just learning. And we applied a lot of things from all over the country, for Samantha's. And when that spot became available, and there's some other restaurateurs that looked at it and they didn't pull the trigger, and we did. And I mean, it was, when I walked in there, I'm like, oh yeah, it just reminded me of some corner restaurants I've been to in New York City. I'm like, this is big city right here. I could, 20-foot ceilings on the corner, windows. I said, this is it. And that's where that came about.
It does.
Yeah.
It's very New York.
Yep.
So you've done now Cheers. You don't own the building.
Right.
Are you glad you don't, or do you wish you did?
I'd love to own everything,
I wondered about that. There's two philosophies on that.
Yeah.
So you bought Cheers,
Mm-hmm.
and then you started Samantha's. So here's the question I want to know: is it better to buy an existing restaurant, or is it better to start from scratch?
That's a tough question.
It's which one's more affordable? Probably buying one that's already started.
Yeah. I mean, you've got an idea of what you've got on an income anyway. Going just from zero, you don't know. You're hoping, but you also know that the restaurants are failing, so you're scared going in. You're like, but I think that I know I can make it better, and just will people catch on? And so far, so good, but.
I would think, if you ask a banker what's the riskiest loan he'll loan you, he said restaurants.
Yeah, it's when we're trying to buy Cheers, going to the bank, well, what do you have? Well, I don't have anything. That's why I'm here,
Right.
Oh, no, you need, 20% down or whatever you're trying to get. And I'm like, well, if I had 20%,
How'd you get the money?
So we had a small partner, Chuck Pressure, and they went to his brother-in-law, and he coughed up a little money. We paid him back with interest. Everything went great. It was all good, but that's kind of how that started.
If you ask the SBA how to start a small business, you know what they'll say? Ask your friends and family for the down payment. I swear, that's the number one way that they recommend. If your friends and family will loan you the down payment so that you can go to the bank and get a loan, then you are pretty credible because your friends and family know you pretty well.
Yeah.
Is it hard to run a business in another city now that you've got Fayetteville up there?
Well, again, they're running it, and I just, if they call, have questions, we go back and forth, on different things, but they're pretty much running it.
I can't imagine. I think one of the reasons why you are successful at your menus and everything is because you travel. I can't imagine keeping your restaurant fresh. And I know there's some restaurants that don't need to ever change and have been doing the same thing for 40 years. like some barbecue places, but you do have these kind of cutting edge restaurants that you can tell you travel. Are you still traveling all the time?
You know, a little bit. You know, obviously this last year, not a whole lot. You go somewhere, there's nowhere to go out. So, but we have here recently.
Doesn't Samantha's have a big wood burning oven?
Wood grill, yeah.
Do you take that around and cater with that?
No, but I've got some other grills. Yeah.
Do you still have to cater?
You know, I did one the other night. First one.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
First one in 14 years. And I'm like, woo.
I'm too old for this. It's tough.
It's hard. We were talking about that this morning.
I catered a little bit out of my home when I was starting Arkansas Flag and Banner for extra money.
Yeah.
For the owner of Cheers Restaurant. She asked me to cook some stuff in my house, and it's tough.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Arkansas restaurateur Mr. Chris Tanner, owner-operator of Cheers, Samantha's Tap Room, and the Oyster Bar in Little Rock, Arkansas. Still to come, the life and loss of their intelligent and beautiful daughter, Miss Anna Charlie Tanner. How does a mother, father, and brother find their strength to start again when unexpected tragedy strikes, it shatters your otherwise normal world? Tough conversation, but an important conversation. We'll be right back. You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy. I'm speaking today with Mr. Chris Tanner, owner-operator of Cheers in the Heights, Cheers in Fayetteville, Samantha's Tap Room, and most recently, the newly renovated Oyster Bar in Little Rock, Arkansas. The Oyster Bar. I mean, this is an Little Rock, Arkansas icon. How scary is it to go in there and make sweeping changes like you did and think, is the public going to love me or hate me?
It's exactly what I was thinking.
That's exactly what everybody. I'm an entrepreneur. I get how big a risk that was. How did you find out it was for sale?
Through a friend who knew someone that knew Virginia. It wasn't on the market yet, but we were sitting at the Oyster Bar. And he told me it's for sale, and she was selling the property, and that's your MO. That makes it a lot more fun, and so got a hold of her through a realtor, and just said, well, we want it, and so we worked it all out.
So you started with the real estate first?
Yep.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So Virginia had it for how long? Did she start it in 1975?
She was close. If she wasn't there at the very beginning, she was shortly after that she came on board.
Can I just say we miss her key lime pie?
Yeah.
What happened? Where is it?
We've got key lime pie.
Is it hers?
Mm-mm.
What happened to her recipe?
I don't know, because it wasn't there when I'd taken it over.
She's still alive?
Mm-hmm.
You need to call her up.
Yeah, no. She came and looked at it. We still weren't done where I wanted to come back now that I really wanted to come back once I get this next phase going, get it done.
What's the next phase?
Yeah, we're getting ready to knock out another wall that separates the hallway from the party room. That's where we're going to build a bar and utilize that stage and there for the music. So when people come in the front, back doors, they're going to come into that room, and that's where people will be able to wait, have a drink, have some TVs and music there also.
How about parking?
Yeah, it's they're figuring it out. We're figuring it out.
How do you figure it out? There's only so much property.
I just think that if there's a lot of restaurants around the country that have no parking.
That is correct.
That do very well.
Uber.
It's
called Uber.
Uber, you do the front door, and you don't have to walk up one stair. You're in there immediately.
Wouldn't it be fun if people would just drive up in limousines and get out, and the driver would drive off, and you'd be like, this is New York City. So for our listeners, we've talked about Cheers Restaurant in the very beginning. It's a hamburger joint to me. It will always be a hamburger joint with great vegetarian sandwiches.
Uh-huh.
Then next, and then that salad that I've never had. What'd you call it? Salmon salad?
Chopped salmon.
I'm going to have to go have that. And then next was Samantha's Tap Room with a wood grill.
Mm-hmm.
Wood grilled oven, wood burning oven.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very New York. It's on the corner. It's in downtown Little Rock, always packed. You shut it down for COVID.
Yep.
You didn't shut Cheers down, did you?
Shut Cheers down for just under a month. But because of Cheers, always did a lot of to-go business. That, we opened that up pretty quick.
So, but Samantha's is just opened up. It was closed a year?
It was closed 6 months. We opened up in October-ish and kind of getting back in the groove.
But not very many days.
Was it 3 days?
No, we were 5-6 days. We were 6 days.
Is the hotel business coming back down there?
Yeah, it's coming back. I'm working on a project right now with a hotel, just helping them a little bit, and I talking to those guys. They were in the Oyster Bar yesterday, and it's picking up.
So and then, right?
So we have everything going. I've got all 3 restaurants back open, going. I'm just baby stepping, doing different things at the different restaurants, just trying to not overdo it, just simplicity. We're not doing dinner specials. We're just doing the menu. We're doing, just trying to make sure we don't stub our toe. And everything's going great. I run down to Florida. Snowmageddon hits. Water main breaks on 4th Street, which floods all over the place. Water goes everywhere. It goes over the sidewalk where the grates in the sidewalk, which are the vents to the building that we're in. Water goes down in those grates, fills up, busts out the wall down below, and then fills up the basement with 3 million gallons of water. So, which is the nerve center to our restaurant. So everything we had down there, just the tap systems, water heaters, just everything was down there. All the alcohol, grease traps, you name it, everything's ruined.
Is this the Oyster Bar?
No, this is Samantha's.
This is in Samantha's.
Yes.
You just gotten it going.
Just had it going for a few months, and then that happens. You're just like, oh my gosh. The one thing I didn't want to do, why it took so long to open the restaurant, is because I want to make sure everything's happening downtown enough to support it, because I don't want to close this thing again, because people don't understand. It's monumental work to close and reopen a restaurant. It's a lot. And I'll be dang, we still closed and trying to reopen to this day. So they're working on the heat and air to the building was down there. So all that is ruined, and we're replacing pumps and cooling towers.
So that was this year during the major snow. You're in Florida.
February, yeah.
And snow hits Arkansas, and you're like, ha, 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 I'm down here.
Yeah.
I'm living right. I timed that perfectly. Not.
Nope. And
all right, so COVID hits, and you have been negotiating for how long on the Oyster Bar?
we had already bought the Oyster Bar October 1st, 2019. So I'd been going for 5 months, before COVID hit, and I was slowly just doing a little bit of remodeling in the back, getting things together. I'd already changed the menu, got our recipes implemented, and just had plans, getting everything together, the big scheme of things and what we were going to do. And then when that hit, I'm like, well, I got a bunch of employees. I was like, hey, who wants to make some money? We're going to go in, and we started tearing everything out. And
what?
That's where the remodel started. So we just went in and tore everything out. And
so you weren't going to remodel it as much as you did until COVID happened?
yeah, well, I had plans to remodel, and I was putting the plan together, but since it was closed, I'm like, it's wide open. This gives us something to do.
So you took your wait staff.
It's got some wait staff, kitchen, whoever wanted to work. And,
It's an entrepreneur right there.
we did some work.
It looks fabulous. So it looks to me, you call it Cajun atmosphere, but it doesn't look like Cajun atmosphere. It looks more like New York City.
Yeah, we modeled it after a few raw bars that we went to.
Where?
Around the country. I went Washington, in Oregon, Portland, Oregon.
What's your favorite food
In
the restaurant?
Oh my gosh! Which one?
I love those oysters. Where are they?
Oh, the wood grilled oysters.
Y'all, even if you don't like oysters, you eat a wood grilled oyster, you will be a convert.
They are very
so good,
very delicious.
They are very, very good. So this is in a 1924 grocery store building. You own the building now, so you've gone in and stripped it all, changed it all, made the menu. You've got behind the bar this building, this
water tower. What is that thing called that flushes the oysters? It's raining down water on the oysters. I've never seen that before. What is that?
It's relatively new with this company up in Jersey that I found, and they call it a shellfish spa, but it's just basically, I keep all the East and West Coast oysters in that, and it's 37-degree marine salt water, and it runs over them, keeps them cold, moist. It extends their shelf life, but we're going through them 2-3 times a week and getting deliveries in 2-3 times a week, so it's also a showpiece.
It's a showpiece.
But they work out of that onto the ice.
Did the idea of importing fresh fish every day frighten you?
It does, but I've gotten some good sources over the years.
You have like 3 different kinds of oysters in there.
We have 5 to 6 at any given time.
Gulf?
Always Gulf. That's the number one seller because that goes in on the wood grill. Of course, raw oysters, and then Rockefeller, Bacon and Leek, Bienville. So we're doing all those oysters. All those are with Gulf oysters, and then we'll have about five types, either East and West Coast.
That's what I meant. 5 types of oysters, like plump, fat ones.
Plump, but not necessarily real big. Some of them are, the Kumamotos that come out of Washington are super tiny.
Oh, really?
They take 3 years to get to that size, but they're just got a really neat cucumber finish. I mean, there's the
what
true
are those
connoisseurs. Kumamoto.
So I have a reservation there tonight after the show. I'm going to go have that one and try it out.
Yep, for
All
sure.
Right, here's the tough conversation if you're up for it. Anna Charlie Tanner. What a darling name. Where did Charlie come from?
Me. I love that name.
It's cute.
Yep.
When your daughter passed, every church in town was praying for her. Did you know that? She was widely known. She was loved, and she was very ambitious with a bright future. She was graduating from Mount St. Mary's in the 12th grade.
Yep.
She had a boyfriend?
Yep.
And what did she want? She wanted to grow up. She was going to go to school to be?
She's going to be a nurse.
A pediatric nurse.
Yep.
And tell us about that morning.
Or
if you can. If you can, it's too hard.
I just got a phone call from the school, and she just had a real bad, let's say headache, but it was more than that. And anyway, we got her to the hospital, and that's when, after the X-rays, kind of figured out what it was, and they were going to kind of go in, and a couple days later, so at least we had 3 days with her. Before she went in for the exploratory surgery to see, how bad it was.
She was awake?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then, anyway, so they did the surgery. They were done. They were just finishing up, and that's where it went south. And so.
What was it, an aneurysm?
It was an AVM is what they call it.
So
it's an arteriovenous malformation, and it was right by her brainstem. And so, people can have those and have them their whole life, and they don't, erupt. Hers did. And usually, and for it to do it, what it did, it erupted, but then it stopped really quick. So that's why we had a few days with her.
What's it like after the first week after something like that? Is it just shock? Is it?
Yeah. Terrible.
And then when does the reality kind of hit you?
Oof. It still is, it seems like, I don't know. It's tough.
So tell families that are kind of thinking about stuff like that are going through that, how do you, a lot of families go through stuff like that and they end up blaming each other.
Mm-hmm.
They have misplaced pain and stuff. And you and Samantha didn't do that.
No, I don't. I credit it maybe because we've always worked together. We've built everything together that we have. I don't know, but
and then
gotten lucky.
Well, I don't know if you got lucky or not. I think you worked hard at it. And then my husband lost his brother. And I know that he always, for some reason, felt kind of guilty that it wasn't him.
Mm-hmm.
which I never knew that was a real. I never realized that was a thing.
Right.
How did you go back to work? How long did you wait to go back to work?
Oh, waited a few weeks, and of course Samantha longer, but I just had to get back to work.
Well, I saw you at Samantha's, and everybody was coming up to you, and is it for people who are suffering? Is it better for people to come up to you and acknowledge what happened to you? Do you want people to come up and say, I heard, I know, I'm sorry, and that's it? Or would you rather people just pretend like it didn't happen?
Oh, either way, when they do it, if they don't, I'm good with that too, Mm-hmm. I'm good either way.
I remember when my husband lost his brother, it bothered him when people did not acknowledge to him that he had lost his brother. He said, I would run into people and it would be so awkward. They would just stare at me like, oh yeah, you lost your brother, but I don't know if I should say something. He said, I just wanted him to say no, just something as simple as, sorry, I heard about your brother.
Mm-hmm.
He would say, thanks.
Right. Well, I had so many people come up to us. I wouldn't even remember if somebody didn't say anything, to be honest with you.
I bet it's just a fog.
Mm-hmm.
I bet it's just you just walking through the day-to-day life of it all, trying to figure it out.
Yep.
All right, this is a great place to take our last break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation with Mr. Chris Tanner, owner-operator of Cheers, Samantha's, and Oyster Bar in Little Rock, Arkansas. Tips on starting a restaurant. And what does Chris Tanner have up his sleeve next? We know he has something going on. We'll be right back. You're listening to Up in Your Business with me, Kerry McCoy. I'm speaking today with Mr. Chris Tanner, owner-operator of Cheers in the Heights, Cheers in Fayetteville, Samantha's Tap Room, and most recently the newly renovated Oyster Bar in Little Rock, Arkansas. Before the break, we talked about how he and Samantha met, how they ended up in the restaurant business, about whether it's better to buy an existing restaurant or whether it's better to start from scratch, the risks of starting a restaurant, which are huge, and we took time to honor Anna Charlie Tanner, Chris's 18-year-old daughter who passed away when she was 18 in 2016 and was an ambitious, at the break he was talking about she was athletic, ambitious, loved kids, everything everybody could ever want in a child, and how he managed to get through it, just putting one foot in front of the other day after day and finally going back to work. And he and his wife ended up staying together through that, which is also hard sometimes. What's next, Chris?
Well, that's a good question.
Have you got your eye on another restaurant that you can tell, or you don't want anybody to know what's up your sleeve?
Right now, I'm just trying to get Samantha's open back up.
Yeah, that was another thing he talked about, is how he was in Florida during the snowstorm of 2021, biggest snowstorm in 100 years, and a water main broke in downtown Little Rock and flooded his restaurant. There he thought he had escaped it. So what advice do you want to give to somebody who wants to start a restaurant? I think everybody deep down, kind of barely in their soul, wants to own a restaurant and dreams about it.
Yep.
What's it really like?
It's fun if you have the passion. Now, if you're just in it for the money or thinking you're going to make the money, definitely don't want to do it. But if you have a passion for good food, drinks, good wine, atmosphere, those things, I love it. Like you say, it's hard, but it's never the same day twice. I can tell you that. It's always different. Every day is different, and that makes it fun to me. Keeps you on your toes.
So, what's the hardest part?
What's the hardest part?
I would think employees.
Everybody says employees, and I do too. I mean, but golly, it takes a little while. Once you open a restaurant, it might take you 2 years to kind of really work through different employees that kind of buy into your philosophy and this this is what I'm talking about. It all works, if we do it this way, and once you get that team, it's fun. It really is.
How about the late nights? I don't think I could have a restaurant today at this age because I can't stand to stay up that late.
Right. Well,
do you get up early or do you sleep late?
I get up early and I sleep late, and I don't necessarily stay late at the restaurant. And then some nights I do, and it just kind of depends. But when you have your team together, you can go in early, go in late, stay late, don't go in at all. It just
You opened the Oyster Bar in the middle of a pandemic. You had a grand opening. I'm driving down the street. I look through all those plate glass windows, and I see 1 million people in there with the lights on. And I'm thinking, what has Chris Tanner done? Tell me how that came about.
Well, we finally finished we were open. During COVID, once we remodeled and reopened, we had to do something. And it was, at first we baby stepped it. We just did reservation only. That was your table for the night. Show up whenever you want, and here's the menu. Here's what you're going to get. You don't have an option. You're going to have, here's an appetizer, main course, dessert, what have you, and that way we could buy just for what we're going to do for a couple 2-3 nights, and just baby step into it. And that's what we did, and then it kind of morphed from there. We added some things, and then we kind of went to our menu, and then we got off reservations and just went reservations for 6 or more, and allowed for more walk-in, and just kind of baby stepped it on.
Takeout business has really changed. Do you like it?
Yeah, we like it.
Can you order online?
Yeah.
You place your order online, and I've noticed now that you can give your credit card before you get there too.
And we're doing our online right now at Cheers. We're getting ready. We're in the process of putting in a new computer system at the Oyster Bar, so we're not there yet on the online.
But
and it never really did a lot of to-go business to begin with, and it's starting to happen there.
At the Oyster Bar?
Yeah, it's crazy. People are getting 2-3 dozen oysters on the half shell to go, so we're putting these pans of ice and putting it,
That is a messy mess. You spill that in your car, it's never going to be able to sell it.
We've got it where it won't spill,
You promise?
Oh yeah. It's really neat. I was like, I just flip out on people getting oysters on the half shell to go. I would have never thought to do that.
I know, right? Well, they're good. I mean, nobody's got oysters like you. It's the best food around. I just love talking to you. I have a gift for you.
Uh-oh.
It's a desk set, and this is a Louisiana flag for your Cajun food.
Oh, love
So
it.
that's a U.S. flag, an Arkansas flag, and then the Louisiana flag for the Oyster Bar with your Cajun atmosphere.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Tell Samantha she's in trouble for not coming on the air with us. I'm going to go down the restaurant after this, and I'm going to tell her myself, never mind. In closing, I want to say to our listeners, thank you for spending time with us. We hope you've heard or learned. We hope you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that whatever it is, will help you up your business, your life, or your independence. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next time on Up in Your Business. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
If you liked this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking on the picture in the center of the screen. For more of Kerry's interviews, click either video on the right of the screen. And as always, thank you for watching.